Ladies and gentlemen, Big Hairy News.
Hey, kia ora koutou, it's whānau. Welcome back to another edition of Big Hairy News. Kia ora, Chewy.
Kia ora, Pat. Do you know why today is a good day?
Because it's Monday. Is it Monday?
Incorrect. Incorrect.
Tell
It
me
is
why.
the day that I have a new Beast Wars t-shirt. That is the best of days. It is a kraken breaking apart a submarine, which is fucking cool.
I thought you were going to say something because I saw a wee Wookiee have some energetic activity on the Facebook page talking about this is only got a couple of days to go, folks, to like have a vote for us in the podcast awards. Couple of days, no more, just a couple of days. I thought that's what you were going to say. So let's just
Are we doing that? Are we? Are we spruiking for ourselves? Because we can
Yes.
do that. We can do
Yes.
that. Have you voted? Have you?
Yes. Yes.
What about you at the back? Have you voted for us in the podcast awards? Because you should.
And
It's
Wednesday's the last day. So QR code, top left-hand corner, click on the QR code, go to the nomination page, nzpodcastawards.com/nominate. Nominate us for a podcast award. You got to put down where you listen to us or watch us. I think saying YouTube /@ Big Hairy Network probably is okay. Or if you listen to us on YouTube, on Apple or Spotify, just use that link to say where you find us from. Got till Wednesday, and then the announcements are kind of end of next week to see if. Look, awards are a strange thing, especially in a country like New Zealand. You're just as likely to get 2 or 3 of them as you are to get nothing. I remember used to do radio surveys, and surveys are like awards.
Yes.
And what would happen is for some radio stations, like when you work locally in a radio station, the sample size of who actually votes is so small that sometimes it's like 15 people vote for you, and that's the difference between becoming second and sixth because the disproportion. So it happens sometimes, but we'll give it a crack.
And it's all about the statistics as well, because we may very well be the #1 New Zealand politics podcast for
In the
white
world.
males, white left-handed males between the ages of 22 and 24 and a half. And I tell you what, if we win that category, we will be insufferable about it.
Hey, Whānau, welcome back. I hope you had a good weekend. Looking forward to hanging out with you for the night. I got to go to the movies for the first time in a very long time because there is an Irish film festival going on, and I cannot but attend the Irish Film Festival. And I went and saw a film called Four Mothers, which is quite delightful. Four Mothers is a movie about a group of gay men who are friends in Ireland, and they've all got mothers sort of. Father has died, passed away, or is no longer in the picture. Mothers are elderly, some quite elderly ones had a stroke, and all 4 of these lads are looking after their mums. And then what happens is 2 of them decide to shoot off to a pride parade and just deliver the mother to one of the guys' house without telling him. And by the time he comes home and finds out, they're on a plane flying off. And then he tells the 4th guy what they've just done to him. And he goes, oh, that's a good idea. And he delivers his mother to this guy. So this guy has 4 mothers for a weekend, and that's sort of what the story's about. And hilarity ensues. It's quite funny, actually. 4 mothers at the Irish Film Festival.
It sounds very similar. I also went to the movies on Friday.
Yeah.
And because my lovely wife is away over in Australia, I went by myself, and I thought I'm going to go and see. Oh, look.
Loser.
I love going to the movies by myself. But because this weekend was the Dunedin Beer Festival,
Yeah.
and Friday night was also Dave Dobbin in concert
Yeah.
at the Glenroy.
Quite as, bro.
Look, two really big events. and an independent New Zealand film. I went to that movie very much by myself. I was the only person there. But I would imagine that the movie that you saw was very similar in tone to the one that I saw, which was this one here, Deathgasm 2, Gormageddon.
It's exactly the same.
Sounds
exactly the same.
very, very similar.
Exactly the same.
Absolute hat tip to the glory hole scene. If you've seen it, you'll know what I'm talking about. If you haven't seen it, tell them I sent you.
Yeah. Peter's also saying this, and I noticed this. I didn't get time to get to that session, but Back to the Future was on the cinemas over the weekend, a 40th anniversary. I noticed that. Didn't get along to it. Thought about it, though. Was pretty cool. Pretty cool.
40. Oh, God, the passage of time.
Yeah. The back passage of time and how it leaves us. A few things to talk about this morning or this evening, Whānau. I have written a blog post. You know that this is on our website, bhn.nz. We don't spend a lot of time doing blog posts because I think my dyslexia and Chewy's ADHD, both of them kind of are not conducive to a lot of blog writing. Would that be fair, Chewy?
That would probably be fair. I do want to write some, though.
Yeah,
like
well,
when you floated this as an idea, I was like, oh, that'd be cool.
Yeah. And I'll let you go and read it, bhn.nz blog.
It's quite good.
I tried to change it. The reason it's got a show thumbnail was because originally I was talking about our Thursday night show and I used it and thought, oh, I don't like that. I changed it. And then I went and used this picture, but for some reason the thumbnail won't change. So it's this one here. I won't talk around it too much at the moment, but long story short, I had a bit of a wake up call on Friday evening after me and Chewy had fun as usual, kind of shouting and pointing and laughing at people on the right and being a bit silly and talking about Christmas parties and merch and all that kind of stuff. And on Friday night, we do 50-50 with my kids. They go to my mum's, they come to me. They go to her mum's, they come to me. They came around and my 19-year-old was like, oh, Dad, I've got something to tell you, but you have to promise not to react. And so straight away I'm thinking, what's happening? You've been arrested. Something's going on. You've broken up with your best friend. What's the story? And I won't go into it now because it's in there. But she told me that someone who was in her circle, not someone who's very close with her right now, but who was and is in her peripheries, took their life on Thursday night. Really sad, like horrible thought. Kind of the first time, as far as I know, that it's really touched my kids. And it just kind of brought a little bit of realization to me about how unimportant most of what we do is. This does have some importance. Obviously, we're trying to help people get educated, yada, yada, yada. But when you think about a couple of rodeo clowns from Dunedin being absolute idiots on Thursday night, sharing that thing at the same time, there was I'm assuming 19-ish year old kid somewhere in Dunedin who got to that point in their life that, they decided things weren't worth looking anymore. Kind of brought a bit of a I had to write about it. There's not many times where I go, I have to write, but I had to write it. And I checked with my 19-year-old. I got her to read it. And obviously there's no identifying factors in there of either her or anything. And then it also turned into, we've had this conversation lots on the show about, how we don't, there's so much in our life that impacts us today that we have no control over, both good and bad. I've talked openly before that I probably still wouldn't be a homeowner if I hadn't, through no work or fault of my own, had a father who could have lent us a deposit for a house. Like that's the only reason we got on the housing market. But the flip side happens as well. Bad things that happen also impact you that we have no control over. And this kid had a really hard life. And it just made me think, go and read the post. Not now, do it later on. It just made me think those times where we have the opportunity to spend time with people who would reach out, we should. And look, I probably should have done this at the end of the show. I'm not trying to take all the energy down already, but that was a part of the weekend that you guys can check out in your own time. Yeah. I mean, you read it, Joey. Do you got anything? I mean, about the subject matter? Do you want anything to say about it?
It's a good pace. Yeah. It's a good pace. It's well worth the read. And look, it is relevant. Like if I could do a wee segue through that into what we were talking about last week
about Lifeline.
about Lifeline, right?
Yeah.
It is real. This has real effects, and it you know, whenever you speak to someone who perhaps has the opinion that it doesn't matter who the government is, they're all the fucking same. This is an example of where that's not correct.
Yeah.
Like we have a government that promised $24 million to somebody's mental health organisation through very murky means. That happened. Maybe it was a kickback for the damage that they did to the previous government. Maybe not. But we were talking about other mental health organisations that are having to shutter through lack of funding. Now, one thing that I noticed at the end of the week, for some, I'm sure, unrelated reason, the National Party's Facebook page was very much spruiking how many free counselling sessions Gumboot Friday had done. I don't know why they chose that particular moment to give themselves a big old pat on the back. I'm sure it had nothing to do with the news stories about Lifeline being shuttered when people need them the most.
Yeah.
But I think it's this thing of the society that we have at the moment, both here in New Zealand and the bigger pictures, which, as you said, kids at that age, like, why would you feel like you can move the needle?
Yeah.
When it's climate change and war and Donald Trump and we're not going to get this climate and you're probably never going to own a house, so why bother trying? Jesus, that's a heavy load for our young.
Yeah. Yeah. And look, I kind of have this, like, I have those thoughts and they kind of are maybe not nuanced, but they kind of go, what could and should have. And my, my wife, Chewy, quiet, sort of reserved person, goes, oh yeah, and how many more fucking times is this going to happen now that they've cancelled funding for Lifeline? So she's kind of cut straight to the point, which I think is kind of what you're saying. So, yep.
And I think when it's these kids, and as you said, this person had a tough life. Lots of kids have really tough lives.
Yeah.
But it's that disconnect from community.
Yeah.
We have a very different, like we had a very different, men of our generation, our vintage, had a very different sort of upbringing than kids these days. And I'm not going to say one's better than the other. Like one of the we've spoken about this. The internet is a double-edged sword. It can help people find their community wherever it lies, however big it is, that sort of thing. Look, another issue is, Luxon's gone into the media today and said he's very strongly against, under 16s being able to access social media. Now, look, there might be a very adult discussion about this. I don't trust him to have it, but
yeah.
That's another issue that we've discussed here on the show.
Yeah.
So,
and look,
real.
As I said, maybe I should have done this in the last 5 minutes versus the first 5 minutes, but it came out, so it's come out, and that's what it is. But Chewy's mentioned the word community, so I'm going to transition now to something else that's unrelated, but we are going to continue to do a show, and that's very simply this, Chewy. Our Facebook page now has 15,000 followers. I'm not entirely sure how that happened, but I put up a post today when the news broke about Pāti Māori expelling Kapa-Kingi Ferris, and it's had quite a lot of comments on it, several of them incredibly racist and horrific, and rightfully so. Some people in this going, who the hell's responsible for this page? Why are these comments not getting taken down? Yada, 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 yada. And to be really honest with you, we haven't spent a lot of time focusing on Facebook. Facebook's just taken off. It's actually the place we get watched most now. Of all the platforms, this is the place that we get watched most. And I think it's time for some mods for the Facebook page. So I'm just putting that out. I was going to write it on the Facebook page, but I thought if I wrote it on the Facebook page, all the crunchies and stuff that still are there would see it and would get on. Chances are most people who are watching us right now are like-minded, are part of the whānau, and maybe you want to be a mod on the Facebook page. If you do, Kiwi skirt, that's exactly what I'm saying. If you do, then message us through the Facebook page. And I'm not saying if you do, you'll be able to be a mod, but we probably need a half dozen or something. I don't know, maybe not that many, but people who are available to check in on it every now and again. I zapped about 4 people today, and there were some comments from people like, "Oh, what happens before you get zapped?" And I'm just like, well, they were actually incredibly, extremely racist comments. Like, I don't mind disagreement, I don't mind good faith arguments, I don't mind opposing opinions, but overt racism, overt misogyny, overt sexism, overt homophobia, that kind of stuff, we're going to zap because it's 15,000 people and we have a responsibility to keep that as safe as we can. Also understanding that we're not going to be able to keep it always safe. Who's messaging me? Oh, there you go. Someone's messaging me about the thing. I'm on the air. All right, there we go. Put my phone on silent. So that was one thing I wanted to mention. Also, the other thing, Chewy, it's a funny story. This is my Twitter account at the moment. So funny story, Whānau.
Oh.
Nothing untoward. I did a really silly thing on Friday or Saturday. I finally figured out how to get off my own name and have a Big Hairy Network Twitter feed. Great. No more Pat Britton. It's at Big Hairy Network. And then I went, well, I can't have my birth date on it. What will I do? And I didn't think too much about it. I wanted to put the start of the date from the first podcast. So I put the birthday date being the first podcast date, which makes us about 4 years old. And then Twitter locked my account because I admitted that I was not 13 years of age. I was 4.5 or something. So if you're looking for us on Twitter, we're not on Twitter tonight because I changed the birth date to match a starting date of a podcast, which Twitter thought was someone under 13 trying to be under 13. I know it might be the way it might be the way I end up getting off Twitter, maybe because I've sort of said mistake, but I'm not going to chase it that hard. But there's also 6,000 individuals there that I don't necessarily agree with everyone about getting off Twitter. The only thing is I think there's still some validity in being a voice in that community to it, just not engaging. And I know people will disagree with me on that, but I'm not gonna fight to keep the Twitter. If we get it back, I'll keep using it for videos, and if we don't, it's gone. So just in case you normally watch us on Twitter and you wonder where we are, or you're looking for me and I'm not there, that's the situation. I'm a moron. Okay, couple of other things, Chewy. Sorry, dude. All the announcements at the start of the show, then we'll get going. Couple of other things. I tried to work out today how to give us a big old discount on the shop, and I couldn't do it. We have quite an exciting thing that's just happened. We have our backing cards for the enamel pins. The cool backing cards there, presentation cards. So what I was gonna do, these are $15 each, we're selling them for. What I was gonna do is I was going to advertise all of these on backing card and a 20% discount. Now, I couldn't figure out how to do a 20% discount, so I just made it 20% less. Because 6 15s would be $90, less $18 is $72. I thought what we'll do is we'll just make it 72, because then I don't have to figure out how to do the stupid discount thing. If you're interested in getting the brand new display board with all 6 of them on there, which of course you'll notice, Chewy, in the bottom left-hand corner there, there is a new one, of course, a Nikki No Boats that is available now. Now there is a particular person, and you'll probably know who I'm talking about, who bought bought the 5 we already had, a patron who did that. Don't you purchase one, because I think for the 5 you probably paid probably $65 or $70 anyway. And we'll work one out for you. We'll figure out how to get it to you, because I feel like you've already kind of paid for the $72 deal. So we'll figure it out. So if you know who you are, I know you know who you are, a person who is a patron who is very generous, then we'll figure you out. We'll figure it out. So don't go online right now and buy one. But there you go. Nikki No Boats is in. You can buy Nikki No Boats as an individual, or you can get what we're calling the Full House, Chewy. The Full House. All 6 of them at a 20% discount, which we'll leave up for a couple of weeks, the discount that is. There's more, but that's all we'll do right now, because we don't just do announcements the whole time. And we've also got a smaller backing one as well. So we've got that one, which is for all 6 of them, and we've got a smaller one which we can fit up to 3 on. So if you order 1, 2, or 3, you'll get a smaller, that's an A6, you'll get an A7 size backing card. And if you order 4, 5, or 6, you'll get a A7, A6 backing card. And they'll come. So for you guys who bought them in the last couple of weeks, I'm sorry, but the backing cards hadn't turned up. But if you really want a backing card, message me and we'll send you a backing card. I think that's it for my announcements so far, Chewy. Is there anything else?
Well, while you were doing a very good job of Spruiking,
Yes.
I have done a cleanup on that thread because
good.
Jesus.
I mean, I had to look
Christ.
through it. I got a lot, but you got more, did you? Did you do any zapping
Far
or just
out.
deleting?
I'm just deleting. Wow, because we've never we usually get the abuse directed at us, which is fine. But I mean, this is the first one that I've seen on our Facebook page where it is just outright anti-Māori racism. Like none of these guys are bringing anything to the table that's worthy of having eyeballs on it. So I will endeavour to keep a closer eye on this.
Here's my
some other people at the table too.
Here's my yardstick for debate, and even offensive debate. If it's done if it's an honest debate, like if it is actually leading somewhere, I don't mind having confrontational, argumentational. I don't mind having those. If there's someone there who's obviously just wanting to spit venom and is not interested in the conversation, then there's no point. They're the only people I ban on Twitter. The people, it's not, I mean, like calling your names. If it's obvious that they're just there to troll and nothing else, I don't mind having angry people disagreeing with me and debating it out. Fine. Just there to troll, you're not worth it. Even if it's not trolling that's that offensive, just the idea of trolling, it makes it no point. So thank you for doing that, Joey. You're probably better at it than I am anyway. I went through today and zapped a few people.
Yeah.
Okay.
No, that surprised me, and a few people sort of tried to draw our attention to it. And look, I've got a full-time day job, so it's not something that ever got to me. So
and
we'll get some more eyeballs on it.
No, I did respond to a couple of people in the actual chat saying you're right. We will do something about it, and this is why we're giving it to you guys. I've already had people messaging me saying, "Oh yeah, so cool." And obviously we're only going to pass it on to people we know and trust. So if we don't give it to you, no offense intended, but we're incredibly grateful to have built this community for approaching 5 years. I think started 2021. Is that right? 2022.
God,
No,
the
started
passage of
2021.
time again, Pat.
I know.
Stop doing this.
I know. And I'm not prepared to have, I'm going to do what I can that the community doesn't get damaged. We're not cotton balling you. You can't be protected all the time everywhere, but we'll do what we can to make it a place and a space that we can have. You know what it needs to be? It needs to be a space and a place. Oh shit, what have I just done to my headphones? Oh gosh, hang on. Talk amongst yourselves. I've just rolled over.
It's all gone wrong.
headphones.
He's
Hang
dropped
on,
it.
coming back. Oh God.
Yeah, look,
Lord help
I
me.
think when we're talking
I'm back.
about the Facebook page and that sort of thing, like those of you that watch us live know the rules that we kind of operate our chat. It's like, it's fine to be a crunchy. It's fine to come in with a contrary point of view. Just treat people with respect and like they're an actual human. I would have a very low tolerance for people that just come in and fucking spam National Party and New Zealand First memes.
Yeah.
Like come with the discussion. Not an argument, not troll bait.
This is what I want, right? This is what I want. Where we can have disagreements and I don't want to use safe space, like people will, the wrong, oh, you and your bloody safe spaces, but I'm just like in a way that doesn't just involve assholery and trolling. Like I'm happy to have debates that are, I don't even want to say respectful. It sounds like all the buzzwords now, but yeah, you know what I'm saying. Anyway, let's get on to it, eh? Should we get into tonight's show? I think we should get into tonight's show. We are going to, first of all, got so many notes. Here we go. Look at the Prime Minister on Radio New Zealand this morning. This has kind of taken a back seat, this story, to what's happened with Te Pāti Māori today, which obviously is the lead story of the day. But Christopher Luxon this morning on RNZ has basically acknowledged, now he's going to say, I didn't say that, but has basically said that they're going to look at asset sales for the next term. Which on one hand, I appreciate, because you know how much of this term stuff they put through with no mandate and with no acknowledgement prior to the election. So I don't know why he wouldn't stick with, there's no plans for us to do this. There's no plans. And after the election, our plans have changed. So I guess there's a part of me which is kind of grateful that he's been somewhat honest about it. But also when I think about him being honest, I kind of go, well, if he's being slightly honest that they might be on the table, what that actually means is they definitely are on the table. But there was a couple of other conversations to be had. And one was where RNZ Breakfast Morning Report was talking to him about the increase in meth use. Let's have a listen.
Why do you think meth use has increased so much, doubling in just a year?
The reality is that New Zealand has higher prices for meth as it's collapsed all around the world. And now for the first time, we're seeing very heavy introduction of meth into this part of the world from North American drug cartels, very, very sophisticated, very organised crime. And that's just lifted the supply available because it's more attractive for them to send product here, given our prices are higher than other places.
So the bad guys are winning.
Well, it's just a good reminder for us to step up our level of sophistication.
It is funny when they have a really negative headline around a crime, all of a sudden it's reasonable conversations. It's, we just got to address it. Whereas if it was ram raids under the last lot, soft on crime, they don't know what they're doing, enemy of business, that might be my word, not theirs. Yet meth use has increased in New Zealand. I think it might have been last year or maybe the start of this year, Chewy, there was a news report that said like nowhere else in the world, like New Zealand had a world record increase in meth use. And now up to and including, they're saying, doubling since last year. So I don't want to go, which would you prefer? A city full of meth users or a city with a bunch of ram raiders? He's using his inside voice, Chewy, and he's sounding quite reasonable about a meth use explosion when he wasn't sounding reasonable and was using his very much big boy outside voice about ram raids. And it's concerning. You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely. Like teenagers stealing cars and driving into an old Lemmings. These guys made that sound like a national epidemic, and was enough to try and topple the government over.
Yeah.
But we can be very much chill and understanding about why meth use has exploded like never before. And I'm sure we can hand wave this away by going, who amongst us doesn't enjoy a nice, relaxing puff of meth after a hard day down mill?
The odd pipe here or there.
It's the economy bouncing back. They're going for growth, etc., etc.
Well, have a think about this though as well. The ram raid situation. Now let's imagine they were being genuine, which I don't believe they were. I believe they were being disingenuous and they were using ram raids as an excuse. But let's say they were being genuine. Ram raids was pushed by Sonny Cashel and that department that group that gave them money, and it impacted business and businesses, which this government seems to care more about than individuals and human beings, because the individuals and human beings are being more impacted by meth. Someone on meth, there was a story, I don't know what I watched, was it One News, about a guy who's taken 10 years to get off meth and he's just coming up the end of it and he's lost his family, lost his kids, lost his job, lost everything because of it. That story there, which is 10 years of a personal story from a person who's gone through it all, versus cigarettes being taken out of a store that's insured. Oh, that's another point, Chewy. The insurance companies won't like the ram raids, but then who really cares about some young man somewhere in rural New Zealand smoking some meth? It just impacts them. So there's all sorts of things that you could go down if you wanted to. All right, we'll get to the end of this. It's only about 45 seconds.
sophistication and pushback as well. And certainly it's a big issue and right across the Pacific, whether New Zealand, Australia, but certainly Fiji, Tonga, Samoa as well. And, that's the reality, is that we need to expand our borders and work together better with our partners with more sophisticated intelligence and customs and NZDF resource as well.
What about cutting demand? What is this hard-hitting campaign going to say that people don't already know?
Exactly.
Yeah, look, I just think it's about us making it, bringing consciousness to the issue, a bit like we have with drunk.
So why wasn't there consciousness and an advertising campaign around ram raids? Like it's a different approach. Now, I guess what they're going to say is because we need to educate people what meth will do to them, sure. But it's the inside voice. It's the reasonable voice coming out now. And a part of that is because he doesn't want to bring attention to things that make his government look bad. The outside voice, the big boy voice around ram raids, because he wanted to look the Labour government look bad. So he made lots of noise about it. This is more question. Now, listen, we're going to be quiet about this. We're not going to tell too many people. And we're going to make sure we handle it in a nice, calm way. Ram raids? Oh my God! Cigarettes being stolen. Oh my! You can tell. You can see through it.
Drunk driving and other campaigns over the years. I think every family has had a family member or a friend impacted by the ravaging of effects of meth, and we just want to be able to talk about meth-related harm, but we also want to make sure that we're supporting and adding extra money into our addiction services as well.
Well, there comes back to that conversation around Lifeline, adding more money into these areas whilst they've been taking money out of other areas. But I just wanted to pick up on one thing too. I didn't stop because there's only 10 seconds to go. But this whole thing about, everyone in New Zealand has a family member or a friend that's been impacted by meth. And I'm like, really? Is it? So that's like far more serious than, say, alcoholism, or because I don't think every family in New Zealand has been touched by other. So what I actually think he's saying in that it's more serious and it's worse than maybe what even the news report was saying. So everyone knows someone who's had the ravages of meth impact on them. I don't think that's true. I think he's way over exaggerating, but he's making the own situation worse. I mean, unless what he's saying is if you knew all the truth, everyone would know someone. Like I can't think of anyone in my circle who's suffered at the ravages at the hands of meth, unless of course it's a secret from me. But I'm like, if it's that serious, this should be the number one issue for you, Mr. Prime Minister. If every single New Zealander knows someone who's been impacted by meth.
I love when they dip into this hyperbole about the evils of drug use, right? Because I can't think of anyone in my circle that's really been affected by meth. I can think of several that have been affected by alcohol.
Yep.
And if we were to look at, say, alcohol-related harm, alcohol-related road crashes, alcohol-related issues with health, do we really want to be drawing those comparisons? But if they're talking about meth and they're talking about the explosion of meth use, can they look at how much they defunded border security and customs straight out of the gates?
He's saying that
they made that choice.
He's saying we need to put more money into places that deal with addiction whilst they're taking money away from places that deal with addiction. It's this classic example of this government. We want to focus on getting the smoking rate down whilst cancelling Smoke Free 2025. We want to support Tokerau and we want to build it up in the community while pulling all sorts of legislative changes to diminish Tokerau in the background. It's just like if you're saying, an older gentleman that I knew back several years ago used to say, when words and actions disagree, believe the actions. The actions that your government has partaken in so far do not say we want to give more money to mental health and addiction issues. That's what the actions say. So I don't believe your words.
Yeah. They don't believe in the value of words. It's just words. They say things and then they don't back them up. And I can hear people going, oh, that's just politics, mate. It's not. It's not. We put a value on words and we used to hold people to that standard. And this government is taking the piss like never before.
Yeah.
Like, it's not normal. Like, we can go back to previous national governments, and it wasn't like this. It was still bad. I still have heaps of criticism. But they still had some people that had a moral compass. This is what we were talking about with Claudette last week. This government doesn't have the moral compass. No one is holding themselves to account. You know, and I guess when you choose a minister of such quality as Chris Pink, that speaks books of how much you value truth and personal integrity. So yeah.
Well, go down the list. Sam Uffindale. You've selected Sam Uffindale. So you can go down the list. You know. The quality people you've decided to pick. All right, let's get to the next part of the story, which is actually the news headline part of the story, where the Morning Report hosts are saying that basically, I think it's Treasury. The report came out last week that we can't grow our way out of fiscal deficit. So if we can't grow our way out of fiscal deficit, and of course Luxon's going to go, I think Luxon's going to go, yes you can, but then he goes into but asset sales. Well, hang on, if you can grow your way out of fiscal deficit, there's no need for the sale of assets. So let's hear what the Prime Minister has to say.
Work as well.
A bit of a reality check from Treasury last week. New Zealand can't grow its way, and I know you talk a lot about growth, but New Zealand can't grow its way out of a fiscal deficit. So what are you going to do? What are your options there?
Well, look, I think we can grow. I think we can be much more efficient than what we have been with government spending.
Okay. We can grow our way out. Easy. Conversation over. Oh, not quite? Oh, okay.
Government spending, as we've seen. But I think their point.
More efficient with government spending. There's 4 letters for that word. CUTS. Cuts. More efficient with government spending, he says.
Their point was actually a fair provocation, which was to say, look, there's an issue about assets and about asset recycling. As the New Zealand government has a lot of money tied up in assets that actually could be either sold or actually and then redeployed into creating other assets. And I think we need a more mature conversation than what we've historically had in this country about assets, because owning everything we own forever isn't the right thing to do, I suspect. And, actually being able to sell an asset in order to create and build a new asset is actually probably a good thing. So, we'll think about...
Typically, that's not what this government does, though. They don't... This government being a Labour government, a national government, faux pas, they don't sell an asset to build another asset. They sell an asset to, for example, pay for tax cuts. Or to pay for things like land reimbursements.
Gotta have that sugar hit.
And I'll tell you that I've said this before on the show. I'm not necessarily anti some asset sales. What I'm anti is a bad reason for selling the asset. And I remember, because I was working in Talkback at the time, when John Key was coming in, they were talking about selling, 49% of all these companies. And some of the things they listed were things like, we need to repaint the hospitals. We need to build some prefabs in schools. So all things that in 20, 30, 40, 50 years from now are going to have to be done again anyway. So it wasn't like we were selling these assets and we're going to buy 10,000 state homes. Okay, let's have that conversation. We're going to sell these assets and pay for our tax cuts. No, let's not have that conversation.
So let's look at some of the asset sales that we've had for National in the past. Okay, they sold big chunks they sold the post office. So we had Telecom. Big asset sales, massive profits for them. Never, ever bothered at updating their network until they were absolutely 100% forced to and broken up.
Yeah,
that was holding back this country's move into fibre. Let's see, the railways. We'll sell them off, sell them to an overseas investment company that will strip it for parts, run it into the ground, and then the government had to buy it back again once it was absolutely on its fucking knees. And the moment that we bring that up and invest in it, then they'll look at that and go, well, nobody's really using rail. Let's sell it off again. The power companies, the banks, all of these things, Air New Zealand, all of these things, can we look at the privatisation that they've done and gone, has this been worthwhile for New Zealand in the long run? This is a man that says that our economy is unproductive, because we all pay for the shit that we build, then we sell it off to overseas interests, and then we just pay them our money to take it outside of the country. Like, you understand that the economy's unproductive. All you've left us is selling old houses to each other. That's why it's unproductive. You big businessman, big business brain, absolutely fucking dropped Air New Zealand down a toilet. All you had to do was literally hold on to your desk and not do anything, and you would have been probably one of the greatest CEOs of Air New Zealand ever. But you crashed it, and now you've got the hands on the entire country's economy. Why is anyone treating you and Nicola Willis like you know what you're doing?
But, I mean, like, Nicola Willis is an English graduate, so she probably knows a few things. Like, the words in the report will all be spelled correctly, eh? At least we got that. I think we've got that. All right, this has only got 30 seconds to go. Let's get to the end of it, eh? Here we go.
About that over the course of the coming year.
When you talk about mature conversations, how will you get that past New Zealand first?
Good question.
Well, again, we'll go to the election with policies in this space, I suspect, but we haven't decided our policy yet. As I've said, we're not having any asset sales this term. But I just think that report was quite a good challenge just to come up a level and actually think about the reality, which is that the government owns a lot of stuff. Some of it, we must own, but obviously over time, you want to be able to cycle assets in and out of a portfolio of assets, and I think that would be a good conversation to have.
You know what he's doing, Chewy? He's doing what you often frustrates you when we talk about the economy, like a household economy. He's talking about New Zealand like a business. Like you cycle your assets in and out. That's what he's saying. Okay, so we're going to move that division of the company out. We're going to buy that company's division. So he is talking about it like it's a business, although he can't run a business, as you've just pointed out. So that fills us with dread.
Here's an example, and this is a Christopher Luxon example, right? So we're going to talk about airlines, and we're going to talk about major airports around the world. Now, Air New Zealand used to fly into Heathrow at a particular time. Airlines buy their slots. They're worth money because obviously it helps with your scheduling around the world and that sort of thing. They're worth millions and millions of dollars to get a particular spot, and Air New Zealand had a good one at Heathrow. Now, that would be an asset, right?
Yeah.
Christopher Luxon looked at the value of that asset and how much it would be worth if they sold it. And so they sold that slot. And then after Christopher Luxon was gone, they realised that they'd fucked up real bad. And maybe we should buy it back.
Oh.
And it was now worth 50 times what they sold it for. And that was if the airline that bought it wanted to sell it, which they didn't. So they got a little sugar hit. Someone laughed all the way to the bank, and then Air New Zealand was just left with regret. Now, if I could come up with another analogy, do we want our whole country to do that? Like, this is the big brain decision that Big Business Daddy comes up with. Maybe we shouldn't let him make decisions, just in general. He can decide whether he wants the fucking egg sandwich at lunch or the ham and cheese. That's all he's allowed to do in Parliament. We could probably get through with this. But there are a whole bunch of people, maybe behind their hands they're saying that he's not a good leader, but certainly to us they're all saying, yes, he has our full support. And they're letting this happen. It is either through sheer incompetence or corruption or dumbassery or all three. Like, I agree with what you said at the top of the show. I am glad that he is pushing this boat out, because that means the election has two button issues from the major parties on the fucking docket. Do we have a mandate to clip the ticket from property investors for more health outcomes? Or do the other guys have a mandate to sell off the family silver so we can put more gas in the car?
The Air New Zealand Heathrow It's not even. It sold for 27 million. It's not even that much money. Like honestly, it's. I mean,
not.
I'm just looking at
For their
reports about it.
operating budget, it literally just wasn't worth their time. I don't know why they did it. But does what you're looking at say what they were quoted to buy it back? It is go fuck yourself money.
I haven't seen that. I'm looking at the AI review of the articles below. It does say there's a gain of about 42 million, but I don't know the buyback is what it is. But it says that they sold it for 27 million. In New Zealand, sold Heathrow slots for 27 million, a testament to their high value. A few years ago, Oman Air paid 75 million. So what they're actually saying in this article is maybe we sold it a tad too cheap. Other ones sold up to 75 million. We sold ours for 27 million. So I don't know. That's just a quick look over a couple of articles. Anyway. Yeah. Yay, Business Daddy in the 9th floor. Let's have a look at some chats, shall we, that have been coming in. Thank you for your super chats and stuff. Citizen Gold says, days left, at most 404. That's an error. Error, 404
Leadership
error.
not found.
Leadership not found, 404. I get it. Get Kaimatara to do the blogging. They are good at the writing. Yeah, I am completely open to the idea of not just being sort of me or me and Chewy writing if there's other people. I also have some news for the whānau, which I will not announce completely now, but I will suggest to you that this Sunday you're probably going to see a return of a certain collective that we started up earlier in the year that is making its way back. Now, probably tomorrow night we'll have some people coming on and having a chat about it, but within that circle of people, because you all know that I'm too busy to organise it, so long story short, we're going to get some other people in to organise it. Within that circle of people, there are probably some people who would be very good and very keen to do some blogging on the side as well. So yes, I'm completely open to guest blogs, other bloggers, no problems at all. Arvid says, rich from them taking pregnancy warning off drinks. Do they do that? Ooh, that's evil. Ram raids. So cut tobacco tax to compensate for theft. Kathy says, so are they also allowed Seymour to reintroduce pseudoephedrine just over a year ago. No one is drawing that parallel to that. Yeah, I think, Kathy, that I'm sort of been in the same camp as you on that. You know, it comes back in, then P takes off. What I've read and what I've seen is that hasn't been the main driver. It's been vast amounts of pseudo coming in offshore illegally, but yeah, that will have an impact, but it's not the impact of that we're seeing. It's far more coming either directly from offshore already made, or the product coming from offshore to then make it. So, but your point is still valid. Recycling assets like cash converters, says Kiwibird. Over Red Rover, sold the Forest Service, the original pension fund, and another from Over Red Rover. 27 million, not much. How valuable is your park space? Yeah, gosh, there's car parks in Auckland that sell for like 1.2 million for a car park. So imagine what that is actually worth. Yeah. Anyway, anything else, Chewy?
Imagine if our government treated assets the same way as the landowning class that they want to protect from Labour's nasty capital gains tax. You know, why aren't they investing in property? Oh, they were. The last government were.
Yeah.
You know, but they were looking at how much they had spent, not how much it was worth. Again, a classic business brain error. Why would you do that? Yeah. It's just so dumb. Why is everything so dumb?
Let's move on, because we've got a different. This is a bit of a different one to tell you now. There was a guest on Q&A over the weekend who sparked lots of feelings in me. His name is Stephen Rowe. Stephen Rowe on Q&A over the weekend is from the Cato Institute, American libertarian think tank. He was also the third person ever hired by Charlie Kirk to be a part of TPU. And he conversed with Jack Tame And it's not even necessarily what he said to Jack Tame, but it raised some other questions in my head about stuff that I think is worth talking about. So let's have a look at Stephen Rowe, third person to be hired by Charlie Kirk, on the Charlie Kirk death. And this is not the subject matter of this conversation. It's not about Charlie Kirk. So, if you're done with that conversation, don't panic. This is just the jumping off point. Asking about how that changed the way we thought of platforms like X, and they're talking about how evident it was that, I don't know about what happened to YouTube, but even if you weren't looking for the Charlie Kirk imagery, it came up in all of your social medias. So it seems to be a bit of a jump the shark moment in social medias, especially X, that the stuff you're not looking for, you're still getting fed. And they had a bit of a chat about that and other bits and pieces as well.
Understand these platforms and systems, these digital platforms and systems, and to use the opportunity that they provide you to pursue political means. So did it change the way you think about platforms like X or Facebook or any other to go on and then see that video being shared everywhere?
Yeah, well, I think it changed people's lives fundamentally. When that was shared, you've never seen more people donate to Turning Point USA. You've never seen more people be activated and committed to fighting and chipping into this battle of this war of ideas and participating in the public policy process. And so at the end of the day, this activated something. Charlie's message is now more powerful than it's ever been before, and that's because of social media. This should not have happened, to be clear, but now Charlie is a legend.
But we're all doing pretty well out of it. Basically what they're saying.
And legends never die. And so we're going to carry his message forward bigger, faster, and stronger than ever. And again, if people feel something from that moment, you're going to take action. And I hope you join me in doing that if you're listening to this, because I really do think there's a real...
You got that, Fano? We'll put the link up after this episode for where you can donate.
Big battle for the soul of this world, and I really hope that people are fighting for the good guys, which means freedom, allowing people to flourish, which means championing ideas that really, like
gay parents in the trans community. That's who they fight for, right? People flourishing. Is that right, Chew? Have I got that right? That's who these guys fight for, to flourish.
Only the right sort of people, of course. And I just think you're not on the list. You're not on the list. You can't come in with those shoes. I'm sorry.
Sorry about that.
Just
sorry.
Increase the wealth and prosperity of everybody. And that's, the things that Charlie held dear. And that's important.
It's interesting. You used a couple of terms there that stood out to me. You said battle for ideas, and you said war for ideas.
Boy, Jack.
Yes.
A war of ideas.
That's right.
Both quite combative terms. What do you make of polarization in US politics right now?
Yeah, absolutely. One of the things that we lack in society these days that's paramount is civil discourse, the ability to sit across the table with somebody you disagree with and have a conversation. And I think that's exactly the ideas that Charlie was pronouncing. I mean, that's why you went on to college campuses. I always have a $100 bill competition saying, hey, I'll give you $100 if you can name me a time where a leftist speaker has been silenced by conservatives on a college campus. And so far, the $100 remains in my pocket. But we had conservative speakers on college campuses that are now, quite frankly, shot when they go to.
So this is part of the victim mentality. Now it's gone from this one event with Charlie Kirk, this horrific shooting, to now it's gone to conservative speakers get shot, rather than a single event. His narrative is now the left is so bad because this is what happens to conservative speakers on campuses.
$100 remains in my pocket. But we had conservative speakers on college campuses that are now, quite frankly, shot when they go to them. It's a very scary world, and we need more civil discourse in society. And so those are the ideas that we're pushing forward. Hey, you need to be able to have a marketplace of ideas.
That was where we're going to go to. So listen, I don't believe him. And if you're watching Stephen Rowe, it is my honest hell belief, this $100 challenge about progressive or leftist or whatever words you want to use, progressive is probably better than leftist, have never been silenced by conservatives. And the reason I don't believe him is all anyone needs to do is go to Google, and for example, Google, these are the most conservative universities in America, and Google conservative university name, i.e. Liberty University, i.e. Grove City College, and then put banned speaker. Because I did that and I found some of them. So I don't believe I don't think he's being honest there. And like some of these universities are just absolute gems. This one, for example, Bob Jones of all names university. Bob Jones University, Chewy, up until 2000, interracial dating was banned at Bob Johns University.
Jesus.
At the year 2000, interracial dating was banned. They ended it in 2000. But, you know, we got to say what we wanted, but you can't date who you want. So anyway, so what I've done is I've just gone and had a real quick look at the most conservative ones. Liberty University. Okay, Liberty University. You can't find me an example anywhere of these bans, right? So Liberty University banned this guy here, Jonathan Martin. Now, I guess what he's going to say is this guy is also a Christian author, so they probably consider him an evangelical. He got banned from the university because he criticized Liberty for Jerry Falwell's political stance. So they banned him and he couldn't come back and speak. Now, what Stephen Rowe's going to do is going, yeah, but that's not banning a progressive for his speech. So this is kind of what you said just a few minutes ago, Troy, about you got to be the right kind of person. He might be able to square that circle of he wasn't banned because he was progressive. He was banned for an okay reason. And you see this on the right all the time. If they find a reason to squash free speech, then it's not the same because our reason's okay. Your reason is unreasonable. Let's go one step further. So there's someone who's been banned from a conservative university for speaking. Grove City apparently is number 2. Grove City. Let's have a look here. See this guy here? This guy, his name is Jamar Tisby. Now, Jamar Tisby, I don't know where he sits politically, but if I read this out to you, in 2016, when Donald Trump descended the elevator in his New York City hotel to announce his bid for candidacy of the President of the United States, we learned how egregiously connected white evangelicals are to racism and Christian nationalism. Exit polls showed that 4 out of every 5 white evangelicals who voted pulled the lever for this man. It became undeniably clear that there really wasn't the space at this white, reformed and evangelical table for a person to be present as their whole self, black and Christian and all. This guy did a lot of stuff with Black Lives Matter. Sounds pretty progressive. If he calls himself a Christian, maybe he's not. But yeah, if you actually have a look at Grove City, they banned him. He's a historian focused on racial justice, Chewy. It banned him after a 2020 chapel service led to a backlash from some parents and alumni who felt his views promoted critical race theory. So that conservative school banned that guy because of his views of critical race theory. So that's why I actually don't think that Stephen Rowe's telling the truth. He's either not telling the truth, or what's happening is every time a person goes, well, what about this guy? He's going, oh, no, that doesn't fit my criteria for the $100. What about this guy? Oh, no, that doesn't fit my criteria for the $100. Because there are examples. I looked at 2 universities, the 2 most conservative, and both of them have examples of banning people who may not be on the left, but are pretty much espousing views that someone in the left would be comfortable with. I don't know where they sit politically. I've got some other things to say, Chewy, but I did want to kind of put that out there to start off with, because next what we're going to do is go back to Stephen Rowe, and Jack Tame, to be honest, goes to him about, I keep saying TPU, is that right? Because that's Taxpayers Union.
Turning Point
it's
USA.
Both. I'm correct, TPUSA. Yeah, that's correct. What about their professor watch list? Which is something that some would argue is exactly what he's saying shouldn't be happening to the right. But before I get there, Chewy, do you want to pick up on any of those things I've just said?
Yeah, look, I've got a couple of thoughts about this guy. First of all, this is heartening, is the American-style rhetoric doesn't work here.
Yeah.
Like, it's too slick. It's too, like, wantonly earnest. Yeah. Like, it's way over the top for New Zealand palates. And I think this is why when these groups try to push into New Zealand, it doesn't work. It doesn't pass our internal vibe check. Like, it's too over the top. The other thing, just of him specifically going, is $100 if you can prove me wrong. Coincidentally, I saw this on the Wellington subreddit, that they have somebody doing this. There's $100 to the first person that proves that slavery is more evil than abortion. And he just does it to provoke arguments.
Yeah.
Like,
there's no way of proving that under his criteria.
There are some phenomenal stories. Those those notes are actually printed on the poster. He used to put the money there, but he's been robbed too many times.
Sheesh. And that's the kind of thing where when he sets the criteria as to how to prove it, he'd go, well, no, that's not more evil. Like, it's his criteria. It's that idea of, for those who believe no proof is needed, for those who don't, no proof is enough. So if you believe your place, you can't say anything to disprove the person because they believe. And if you don't believe it, the person who believes it can't say anything to you that'll make you believe because you don't believe. So it's a pretty common thing. All right, let's get to the second part about this dude. And this is just a short bit on the I keep wanting to say taxpayers unions, TP, Turning Points USA. And, is there a bit of hypocrisy there when he's talking about, he doesn't use the word cancel culture, but about these university professor watch lists?
Agree.
Doesn't Turning Point USA maintain a professor watch list?
Yes, very much so.
So isn't that the same thing?
So, same thing as what?
Well, you've just said that in terms of shutting down speech on campuses, you've said, give me an example of a leftist, in your terms, person being shut down on campuses. But Turning Point USA maintains a public watch list, a professor watch list, in which they try to blacklist professors.
So let me be clear, because he's about to try and refute that. The professor's watch list is them saying this person shouldn't have a voice. They still have a voice, but in an ideal world, this person would not be a professor at this school. So it's a little bit like, is attempted murder okay because you don't actually kill the person? Is it only when you actually do the crime? Okay, they in their ideal world, the watch list is saying these guys and girls are dangerous and they shouldn't be teaching our kids. And then they're going to be able to go, well, they're still all teaching, so it's not the same, but it is the same. It's the same as trying to steal something from a shop versus actually stealing it. Both are bad. Both are bad.
From colleges around the US whom they don't agree with.
Yeah, I wouldn't use the word blacklist because these professors are still there. And ultimately, there's other websites like ratemyprofessor.com where people can rate the quality of their professor.
I wouldn't use the word blacklist because, critical race theory and all that. How would we know where that's coming from? You know what I'm saying?
Yes, whom they don't agree with.
Yeah, I wouldn't use the word blacklist because these professors are still there. And ultimately, there's other websites like ratemyprofessor.com where people can rate the quality of their professor.
It's not the same, though, is it? It's not like how good is the education I'm receiving from this professor. It's this professor has political views in the eyes of Turning Point USA that I disagree with. Therefore, we're trying to dox them.
Not dox them. No, not at all. And unfortunately, we see doxing on the other side happen far too often. But what you're seeing with this professor watch list is hey, heads up, as you sign up for classes, again, like a ratemyprofessor.com, this professor holds these views. And college students...
I just say there's nothing on ratemyprofessor.com which talks about their political views. They've got that all over the world, rate my teacher, rate my whatever. It's nowhere near the same.
Increasingly, if you're a conservative, have to be quiet in classrooms if they want to receive grades that are good at the end of the day. And so being able to navigate that labyrinth of the American academic system is important.
So that's the conversation from him that's all I'm going to play. I found it really interesting to hear that, and I think you've nailed it, Chewy, that slick American, always smiling, perfect teeth, can say the most horrific things to you, but as long as it's done in a respectful way, I can call your mother a whore, and as long as I say it in a respectful way, then we should be able to have that dialogue. And I think something I came to in the last few weeks is it's like, which is worse, right? And I won't even put out there which I think. Is it worse that person A can talk to person B, say the most disgusting, most offensive thing with a smile on their face and claim to be reasonable? Or is it worse that person B hears the most disgusting thing and responds much more aggressively? Do you know what I mean? It's like, it seems that the American right, and maybe the right here so much, but the Americans are slicker and do it better. The American right seem to be able to basically, with a smile on their face, say the most revolting things and go, it's a bit like we're just asking questions. We're just having a conversation, unaware that words can cause reactions and absolve. It's like, well, I'm sorry you feel that way. You know that apology? I'm sorry those words offended you. Not I'm sorry I was offensive. I'm sorry those words offended you. It feels like when you can say the most horrific things and claim that you were talking reasonably, it's like saying, oh, well, look, I'm reasonable. I'm sorry you're reacting to my reasonable talk. That's on you. Not acknowledging at all that the speech, the talk, can have, whether intended or not, can cause a reaction in someone. And I'm not suggesting, by the way, make this clear, I'm not suggesting that reaction means I'm saying, so violence is fine. I'm just using the word reaction. Emotional, physical, mental, whatever. A reaction, Chewy.
Well, look, I'm going to link this back to what we were talking about, the Facebook comments that we weren't keeping an eye on.
Yeah.
I've often tried to explain what we want here in the chat. We want BHN to be, right? And I think the closest that I came to, like, we can talk about, like, just fair dealing and being authentic and all of that sort of thing. I want this to be like a discussion about politics in the pub with a stranger.
Yep.
Right?
Yep.
And part of that is there is an underlying tone that if I take this too far, I'm going to get punched in the mouth.
Gotcha.
Right?
So you're realizing that for you. You're saying if I take it too far, I might suffer some consequences I don't want.
Yeah, or these people that pervert the idea of a debate. Like the American idea of a debate, the way that Charlie Kirk did it, and the way, say, Jubilee does it, and you know, this is the game that Mehdi Hassan, he will participate in it as well. It's not a debate; it's an argument.
Yeah.
You know, it doesn't have the rules of say an Oxford debate or a traditional debate. So it is just an argument. And then they want to have the shield of, like, well, if you're the first person to lose your shit or the first person to
you
react
lose
in violence, then you lose.
Yeah.
And so you're sitting there going, well, if this guy punches me because I've just used words and that's his reaction, then I win. You know, that's like, in the real world, that's the threat of violence is always there, right? Now, I'm not advocating for violence. I'm not advocating for punching someone in the mouth, but sometimes there are things that are so egregious that the correct answer is a punch in the mouth. These guys don't want to risk that. And they want to stack the deck so, you know, they can say, this group of people doesn't deserve to exist when you're part of that group, I think is so egregious that it sometimes warrants a punch in the face. But they don't want you to do that. But they also won't participate in the social construct of just having an honest discussion. They are trolling. It is rage engagement in the real world. And I also want to point out the reason why this guy is here is they're trying to set up Turning Point New Zealand, just as they've set up Turning Point Australia.
Oh, and you know who's brought them across, eh? You know who's brought them over? If you don't know, you can guess.
Oh, Jordan. It's Jordan, isn't it?
No, Free Speech Union.
Appreciated. Oh, okay.
So I think it's a Free Speech Union. Jordan. Yeah. I think. Look, me and Chewy probably see this slightly differently, and Chewy's probably more of the, if you deserve a punch in the face, you know. But what I am in that world is I'm aware that people who say violence is never the answer are wrong, because clearly sometimes it is. Now, I'm not advocating for it in any one situation, but when people clasp their pearls when I say that, what I tend to say to them is, if your 10-year-old son was being accosted by someone in the main street of your town, and you needed to be violent to interact there, would you? And of course, they all say yes. So I'm not saying that as a cover-all for violence, but I'm also not going to go the other way and go violence is never acceptable. Sometimes it is, unfortunately, the answer. I guess where maybe me and Chewy might differ is where is that time it is the answer and not. But I completely acknowledge, and I think you're naive or dishonest to think it never is. It never is. Because, quite clearly, if you need to act in a violent way to save a loved one, for example, and people will say, well, no, but that's self-defense. It's like, yeah, but it doesn't mean self-defense is not violent. You know, so let's not be like kindergarten kids here and be naive to the truth of the world and use stupid pablums like that aren't true. Because if violence is never the answer, that means when your girlfriend got attacked in the street by someone, you'd have to sit back and go, yeah, I'd like to help, but, you know, violence is never the answer. No, of course you wouldn't. Anywho, Should we get? Is there any chats in there? I think there's some chats in there. There's a chat in there. E. Grant, right. Some turning point advocates support Nazi ideology. Oh, there you go. Well, that's there's a fairly violent ideology.
Famous debaters, the Nazis, very tolerant of outside views.
We are going to talk a bit about that later. I've got one more thing that I haven't advertised we're going to do, mostly because it's really interesting. It's a really, 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 really interesting look at the world to do with social media and a thing that a very young, he's only 23-year-old American progressive YouTuber talks about being the pipeline to volume theory, which if we get time for tonight, we will. I think we will just stick at it, because now we're going to go to the biggest news story of the day, which of course is Te Pāti Māori and what's been happening there today. I was shocked this morning when I saw the news that there had been an expulsion from the party. Probably the best thing to do is just fire off the 3 News story and have a look, as most of us sit on the outside here and don't know too much about what's going on when it comes to the finer details.
No mai, haere mai, mā loi lele. Welcome to 3 News. After weeks of infighting, Te Pāti Māori has expelled its 2 so-called rogue MPs, Mariameno, Kapa-Kingi and Tākuta Ferris. It follows a meeting yesterday of the party's national executive, which voted to eject the pair for allegedly breaching Te Pāti Māori's constitution. Speaking to reporters today, co-leaders Rawiri Waititi and Debbie Ngarewa-Packer said despite attempts at mediation, including from the iwi Chairs Forum, irreconcilable differences remained. But the 2 MPs who won their Māori electorate seats say their expulsions are unconstitutional, and Kapa-Kingi says she will appeal.
It is interesting that they've made this decision before the meeting. Be interested to know. I mean, they're going to explain why, but actually, you know, it seems most within the world, the iwi chair, all those chairs, all those people were saying, let's have a meeting and then let's make a decision. And over the weekend, they've made the decision. Also interesting that, what was the word that was used by Debbie today? That the issue was resolved without opposition. So one of the factions, I think from Northland, I think Te Tai Tokerau didn't vote, and the other one abstained from the vote. So there was actually no vote against it, which was interesting as well. I watched the stand-up this afternoon. We'll keep going.
Now, though, they'll both stay on as independents in Parliament. Political correspondent Zane Small has the developments.
Te Tai Tonga MP Tākuta Ferris and Te Tai Tokerau MP Mariameno Kapa-Kingi are Te Pāti Māori no more.
Last night, the National Council of Te Pāti Māori, made up of the elected electorate representatives, resolved without opposition to expel Mariameno Kapa-Kingi and Tākuta Ferris from Te Pāti Māori for serious breaches of our kawa, of our constitution.
It's the culmination of infighting that's dragged on for weeks. So here's a quick recap. In September, Te Pāti Māori apologised for a racially charged social media post made by Tākuta Ferris, in which he suggested that non-Māori should not be able to campaign for Māori electorate seats. Later that month, Ferris defied his co-leaders and doubled down. It also emerged that Mariameno Kapa-Kingi had been stripped of her role as party whip. In early October, Mariameno's son, Eru Kapa-Kingi, who leads the Toitu Te Tiriti Hikoi movement, publicly distanced the group from Te Pāti Māori and accused the party of having a dictatorship model. About a week later, Te Pāti Māori sent a late-night email accusing Mariameno Kapa-Kingi of financial overspend and made public allegations that her son, Eru, threatened Parliament staff. The drama stepped up a notch last week when Te Pāti Māori President John Tamahere published an essay of allegations calling Kapa-Kingi and Ferris greedy, entitled Dishonest, Unprincipled and suggesting they should resign. He also alleged the pair tried to take over the party's leadership.
This decision follows 6 weeks of rigorous process, robust debate across electorates and branches, hui with members beyond our party, kōrero with the iwi Chairs Forum and other rangatira. And
it does also raise the question, I believe the iwi Chairs is going to be happening in a week or so, that meeting, maybe this weekend. So if it's been 6 weeks so far, what was the need to rush it 5? I mean, I think it's this weekend. If it is this weekend, what was the need to rush it by 1 week rather than leaving it. So, yeah, it'll be interesting to see. And they've said in this, Rawiri, I think, said specifically, we're not going to talk about this again. I don't know if that's helpful or not. But, yeah, overall, we've still got two factions saying two different things. And I'll tell you what, this has absolutely caused a split. From the Facebook post that I put up today, there was as many people who were engaging in good faith saying about time as there were saying they've lost my vote. So it's fascinating to see that there's no way to beat around the bush that this has caused a split within, in particular, voters for Te Pāti Māori, amongst others as well. So, yep, we'll keep going.
Internal mediation. Irreconcilable differences remained.
In a statement, Tākuta Ferris described the decision as plainly unconstitutional, contrary to tikanga Māori and a direct affront to the values this movement was founded upon. For her part, Mariameno Kapa-Kingi posted that she intends to challenge the decision.
I wish both Mariameno and Tākuta all the best of luck as we head forward. But we had to bring this to a close.
Tākuta Ferris and Mariameno Kapa-Kingi were both voted in by the people of their respective Māori seats. Therefore, it's likely the pair will remain in Parliament as independent MPs representing their electorates but no longer representing Te Pāti Māori. That is, unless Te Pāti Māori decide to use the waka jumping law, which allows party leaders to eject MPs from Parliament entirely if 2/3 of their caucus agree.
That's not a consideration that we've made and have had. That would actually be a consideration for the National Council.
The co-leaders are now trying to pitch a party that's worthy of forming a coalition come 2026.
We have begun serious and constructive conversations with the Labour Party and the Green Party. Our people on the streets and in the polls have told us they want a government led by our three parties at the helm.
The Te Pāti Māori have got a lot of work that they need to do if they want to play a constructive role in Parliament and in any future governing arrangements.
Do you think Te Pāti Māori has done the right thing by expelling 2 MPs?
Oh, look, I don't know. I mean, Te Pāti Māori's a joke, to be honest. They're completely irrelevant in this place.
The Prime Minister's description may be harsh, but it could also be the reality for Te Pāti Māori if the infighting continues.
We'll leave the rest of their story there. Interesting to see in the chat as well. I'm just going to put a few chats that have been going past while we've been talking. The conversation going on, so I'm just picking it up partway through. Tane is talking to someone saying, iwi leaders don't want this, are getting sick of John. He wants to save his leadership at the expense of the party. The reason I'm bringing that up is because then there is a response to it. If I can just scroll, actually I can go to the start, can't I? Paula says, just want to say months of dealing with this isn't rushing it, and the iwi chairs do not decide the leadership. And Paula also responded to Tane saying that's not accurate, and I'm perplexed and am wondering, what do people think iwi leaders are? The party chose John and the party has reasons. This isn't a public decision. Yeah, and I think that's also a big part of it, Paula. Thank you for your input, is that this is behind the scenes conversations going on that we don't know. I mean, I feel pretty confident in saying we will know one side of it, because I think Kapa-Kingi and Ferris will probably share their feels. And it's interesting that I think Rawiri did say today that they won't be talking about it anymore. So this is where we're at. And it's, from looking from the outside in, it still looks to be, because we don't know what the issue is exactly. I don't know. I'm still like, what's going on? Both of these groups have such an important part to play, talking about Toitu, and also, this is not so much about Toitu today, actually, but about Toitu and Te Pāti Māori, but with Toitu being intrinsically intertwined with Te Pāti Māori via the Kapa-Kingis, you're like, how is this going to work out and where's it going to go?
Yeah.
There's one other thing I'm going to play about next year's election, which Deb talked about today, but Chewy, you got thoughts around this?
Yeah, look, I think at this point, Rawiri going, you know what, this is going to be the last time that we talk about this, is probably the good move. I think there's a lot of big egos in the room, a lot of big egos, and look, I'm not even going to pick a side on this. Like, I like most of what Tākuta Ferris has done, then that thing about campaigning for the Māori seats was a massive misstep. we've had Debbie and Rowe on the show, and they were fucking great. But then I don't particularly like John Tamahere. So what they need to do is they need to get their house in order, and they need to just shut out the noise, shut out the media cycle, shut out everybody, and I include this in us, sense of blood in the water.
Yeah, Pat and Chewie, shut the fuck up. What are you guys talking about for?
We're making this worse. And just get shit squared away, because roll on the next year, next session of Parliament, and it's all on. And I want them focused and taking big hits out of the government. But at the moment, we've also got Luxon calling them a joke, and Hipkins going, well, they're not ready to be part of government.
No, I actually think Hipkins was okay today, because it's a little bit like when you work in radio, right? Let me give you the silly example. When you work in radio, you're not supposed to acknowledge the mistakes you make on air unless you make a really big one. So your bosses will tell you when you're learning radio, you're like, if you do a little tiny mistake, 99.99% of people won't know you've done it, so don't acknowledge it. If you like play the wrong song, they're going to notice that you acknowledge it. This is like you've played the wrong song. Like this has to be acknowledged as not being good. I think Chippy's level of he basically said they need to get their house in order, and I think today that's okay, because how can you say anything else? How can you say, oh, it's all fine, they'll be good? You can't say that, and you can't say we're going to rule them out. So I actually think today, him saying they need to get their house in order, before we even have a conversation about it. The one weird thing is that already talking about they've been having meaningful conversations with Labor, and Chippy went, no, we haven't. We haven't any of that. That was a bit weird. And remember, maybe even this time last year, the Greens were not maybe going through the same thing, but going through a big reshuffle as well. And this is the one clip I'm going to play from their stand-up, because they get asked, are you ready for government? And Debbie's very clear. Debbie is saying the reason they're doing this is to show that they're ready for Parliament. So they've seen this as the step they need to take, for whatever reason we don't know yet, to be that party ready for Parliament. This is a part of getting ready, is how Debbie explains it. Now I'm paraphrasing, she might not use those exact words, but give me some of this, and so you can hear how she responds to about government next year.
Anything fit to be part of the next government, though? I mean, you've just used 2/3 of your MPs, you're talking about stabilising and walkout.
I think, first of all, those are dramatic words. They're dramatic words, nuke. We have a history as Te Ao Māori, where our ancestors don't all arrive on the same waka they left on. This is waka-papa, this is part of who we are. The reality is, do I think that we're ready to be in government? We are, and that's the decisions, that's the pain of the decisions that we have to make now. Through great pain comes great wisdom.
So the painful decisions we're making now is us getting ready for being in government. That's what she's saying.
The reality is, what we're contending with is the fact that we couldn't all agree on where the movement needed to be. This was nothing else more than that, and we weren't able to reconcile it, disappointingly. What we have able to do, though, is show that we will be straighten it up, we will front the challenges, and we will get us ready for 2026, and that's really what we have. There's no other option with this government. And if we had more time, if we didn't have as a destructive government as we had, but that's not the case. So our party have given us a strong mandate of support and to get on and straighten us up for 2026. We're going to see other parties fall out next year. Pāti Māori got in first, and it's best to be on this side of Christmas. And we know that it's kept everyone going for a while, and it's raw. It's raw when it's playing out in front of the world to see, but it's a necessary part of our growth.
Do you think that you or the party...
So basically saying, yep, we're not the first, we won't be the last. And the way I heard that, Chewie, was we've had to make these hard decisions today to get us ready for government, or for government, because we need to be all going in the same direction. Now, that's if we accept exactly the narrative that Te Pāti Māori is giving us. And as I think most of us will agree, the truth is normally somewhere in the middle. But that's what they've said. That's what Te Pāti Māori has said, that we need to be going in the same direction. These MPs weren't. We need to go in the same direction to be in government. So we have to make these hard decisions today. That's how I heard it, at least, Joey.
Yeah, look, I thought that was a really solid answer from Debbie. And look, I must admit, when I saw the Luxon headline of Te Pāti Māori is just a joke, I was like, I don't know, man. Do you really want to put that out in the discussion space when you're not polling particularly well going into an election? And I'm sure your entire front bench has a selection of Ginsu knives that they're frantically sharpening, waiting for the right poll and the right moment to roll you.
Yeah. Yeah, that's interesting. So, I mean, like, I'm not going to do predictions, but it feels like if Luxon, as it feels right now, if Luxon's there next year, it's a coin toss. If Luxon's not there, the ball will be in Nationals court. That's how it feels. I mean, could be wrong.
Yeah.
And most importantly, Chewy, just to finish up, is that a Swedish corgi?
So, this is now a podcast about the Swedish Valhund. I'm glad you asked. There is debate that the Swedish Valhund is the progeny breed for corgis. That they are a Viking herding dog that was small enough to put on the boats to take to England, and the corgis are from around Wales and that sort of thing. And if you like her, you can buy her on a t-shirt.
Slick. The Ilva tea right there.
Yep.
The Ilva tea in black marl or in
We're
grey
talking about you, Ilva.
or in
You've got
rust.
To answer other questions in the chat, she has just turned 6. We got her from a breeder just south of here. And Ilva is the name that we chose for her, which means a female wolf. But her actual, because she's got a kennel name, she's a pedigree, is Tohara Barrawolf.
Barrawolf.
She's named after a volcano from a volcano litter.
Well, that makes sense for Mount Vesuvius. That should be living with you. All comes together, full circle. Peter also wants to bring up the most important point about that last story, which is why the hell is the foyer Christmas tree up this early at Parliament? I saw one today. Where was I today? I was in a mall. I think it was in the Wall Street Mall today, going to look for a phone case cover. And it was up there, and I'm like, oh, it feels a bit... My kids want to put it up now, but we like to get a live one. It was so funny, too. I was talking to my wife in the kitchen, and the kids' room's like, the youngest one's like about 4 doors away. And I said it just a normal speaking voice. I went, should we get a real Christmas tree this year? Because we do every year. And I just heard yell down the corridor, yes! Like, just the ears tuned in.
You've just reminded me that you're actually lucky that you have me here today, because one of the buskers in town busted out some Christmas carols, and I almost straight murdered him. Like, it's too early. I saw hot cross buns in the supermarket in the weekend. What the fuck?
Yeah, that's weird.
When I come to power, I'm sorry, Ilva, this is Daddy's ranting. When I come to power, there will be changes.
Have you scared your dog?
The reason that I was cradling her is there's a bit of thunder and lightning at the moment, and every time that happens,
lightning, very, very
she thinks Thor is coming back to claim her. So I need to reassure her that she's staying here.
Galileo Figaro. It was a crazy day in Dunedin today. It was really hot and sunny and beautiful, and then for about 7 minutes it became Fiji, tropical torrential rain. Then it all went away again. Does it come back? Is it?
Oh, it's back now. It's back now.
I'm going to do this last story. This isn't got any necessary. This is more like hey, this is good to hear for us. This is a really interesting thought. There's not really a news item connected to this. There's a guy called William Dalrymple, who is a very, very, very good interview on Q&A over the weekend. He's an acclaimed historian, and he talks about the legacy of the British Empire in the modern world, the extraordinary and often forgotten contributions made to, I'm trying to read a small print here, to history by people from the Indian subcontinent. It's a really interesting interview, the whole thing. There's one particular point where he's talking about where we source our news from. And we're all a part of this, because you're probably watching this on Facebook, or you might be watching it on YouTube, or you're definitely not watching it on Twitter. But you might be watching it on a social media platform right now. And this idea that and he doesn't quite use these words, I don't think, but how we're getting so much dumber because we're getting our news from social media. And then I want to go into a bit with Adam Mockler talking about the pipeline to volume theory. They're both a couple of short clips, but these are really interesting to look at. And I'm sure you're all aware of this, but sometimes when you hear it spoken, it just opens up your eyes a little bit. So this is William Dalrymple to start with.
What I think we're seeing very clearly is the result of us all now receiving our social media through what I think this is a result of is us all now receiving our news through social media. And as we all know, it's filtered through algorithms that amplify our own views, so that whatever your view, whether you're of the left or the right, you're receiving clips and pictures and news feed that augments your view, which leads, of course, to polarization, that the middle is shrinking everywhere and the left and the right are gaining momentum. And so I think there's a wider context to what we're seeing. I don't think it's necessarily that there is massively more discontent. It's that people are being, in a sense, radicalized by their phones, which is a very real problem. The world where,
Think of that. Getting radicalized by your phone. It's a pretty good way of thinking about it.
By their phones, which is a very real problem. The world where, where I came from, the BBC was sitting giving you a neutral view on everything, or relatively neutral view, which was at least meant to be apolitical, is now being replaced, by Fox News on one hand. And
information silos, right?
Exactly.
Information silos that operate on outrage a lot of the time, are fueled by outrage.
And it's a serious problem in politics worldwide. Yeah.
So really interesting perspective, yeah? And I'm going to go straight into this other conversation, talking about being radicalized by your phone and how we are worse off receiving our news through social media. Now, just so we're clear, and I'm sure you're aware, we're not saying we're worse off because we're seeing one news on Facebook. We're worse off by getting our non-mainstream, sort of editorialized, going through layers to make sure facts are right news from social media, like what you're watching right now. Hopefully we push back a bit on that. And then there's these guys in America. This is Brian Tyler Cohen, and he's talking to a young fella, Adam Mockler. Adam Mockler is a part of the Midas Network. He's got, a couple of million subs. He's only 23. And he goes on CNN quite a lot to debate people. And he says this is not necessarily his own theory, but he works this theory out called the pipeline to volume theory. And it comes back again to what you do on social media, what you look for on social media, what you're searching out on social media, and how that can then drag you into more of that world. And just remember, William Dalrymple has just been talking about we're radicalized by our phones. And then listen to Adam Mockler talking about the pipeline to volume, and you'll get a really clear picture as to how that happens.
Yeah, it's a really good question. There's a theory that I've been working on for a bit. It's not completely unique to me, but it's the pipeline to volume theory of right-wing social media. And what right-wingers have done is create a very effective pipeline for young men, young women, people of all ages to be sucked down this pipeline into the algorithms, and then they hit you with volume, volume, volume. So a really good example, a few good examples. Most young men have dating problems at some point in their life. So they start looking up advice on dating problems, and it sucks you down this Andrew Tate pipeline. Then young men are watching Andrew Tate's. Or say somebody is just learning about APAC and they're against APAC. Now that's taking you down a Candace Owens pipeline, where Candace Owens takes you to the most extreme position. Young mothers are currently being sucked down an anti-vax pipeline. People who just want to work out. You just want to work out. So you're scrolling through Instagram and eventually you're hitting Maha, Make America Healthy Again. The point is, there exist all of these pipelines to suck you down into the extremes. And then once you're at those extremes, they hit you with volume, volume, volume. Think about how many times Elon Musk posts every single day. It's not just 10, it's not just 20. He posts like 60 times a damn day, and each post gets 5 to 10 million views. This guy has a lot of narrative control and attention, and that's what right-wingers do so successfully. So I'm not going to do the whole Charlie Kirk was practicing politics the right way, but Charlie Kirk was practicing online warfare the right way, and he built up this clipping infrastructure to suck people down it and then hit them with that volume over and over and over. So something that I say is, Like, for every one clip of Charlie Kirk saying that MLK Jr. was a bad guy, we should have 5 clips of us explaining basic Black American history. Like, where are the clips on our side of us explaining redlining to a Trump supporter at a college campus and changing their mind? Where are the clips on our side of us just explaining why vaccines are important to people on a college campus and changing their mind? This is the type of content that we need to break through, and we don't even have to just mirror the right-wingers, but they have a lead on us. Yeah.
There you go. And that's it. I think, like, he's 23. I saw someone in the chat saying they find him annoying. He's 23. But give him a little bit of grace, because he's got some interesting ideas, and he's obviously killing it for a certain sector. I thought both of those things, and then when you add that to that conversation about TPUSA that we had earlier with the speaker on Q&A, I just think it's a really good thing to be able to see, think, and sometimes when someone puts into words what you see and know innately, you're like, yeah, okay, of course. You know, that whole kind of, and it was with Joe Rogan and those guys as well, the workout buddies and the podcast bros. And even if the ones on the top level are MAGA adjacent or not even, they're just in the center, then it goes to this and then you hit the bottom of that pipeline, and then your algorithm's flooded with that stuff, because that's what the algorithms do. They give you back stuff that you enjoy, and then all of a sudden you're being radicalized by your phone, Chewy.
Yeah, so much to unpack. Look, I think back in the day people were radicalized by whatever newspaper they chose to read. You know, there's always been something that it's like, you're not going to buy the newspaper that makes you angry every day. You're going to buy the newspaper that tells you the news that you want to hear and echoes the thoughts that you have. I think what has changed now is we don't buy newspapers, but we go to websites and we allow the algorithm to choose where to take us. And sometimes the algorithm is a somewhat invisible hand. And sometimes it's a really strong hand, very obviously showing you what it wants to show you. I'm glad that he listed all of those groups that have been radicalized, like the healthy vegan living to woo-woo fascistic spiritualism and anti-vaxxism. Like I was talking to a friend of mine a while back that likes knitting. And talking about the 2 major New Zealand Facebook groups. And she goes, oh, there's the good one and the Nazi one for knitting. And I was like, oh, you're exaggerating that, aren't you? And she goes, no, I'm not. And she showed me a couple of things. And I was like, oh, fuck, you weren't kidding. You know, fitness and Nazism goes hand in hand in a lot of aspects. And, there's people that join gyms and join, group chats at the gym, and then they go, oh, fuck, this is a Nazi group chat.
Yeah.
Because there's always been this tie-in of like, you've got to value your physical body to be any use to the Reich. It's not that far removed from that. And I think sometimes people can sleepwalk into that, and then they hit what you described, the volume picks up, and because this algorithm, the changes in the algorithm is such a recent thing. Like, we're talking the last maybe 25 years, and I think this is why it's catching people out, especially when you're talking about teenagers, young boys especially.
Yeah, 100%.
Finding themselves in the Andrew Tate sphere and going, oh, holy shit, hadn't we solved this argument?
Yeah.
Oh, we're back into misogyny again. Fuck's sake, where did we go wrong? Yeah, we've given away control over what we listen to and the opinions that we're given to Google, Meta, Twitter. It's like, how do you unfuck it? These are some of the most wealthy companies on the planet. What possible mechanisms do you have to tell them to do shit differently when they're making money hand over fist? And they're going to just buy a senator. But the New Zealand government goes, hey, can you stop feeding right-wing nationalism to our youth in the wake of a horrible mosque shooting? And they make like very surface level changes. And is that enough? Are you going to leave us alone now? Because we've got to go back to making money. You know, it's fucked. It's fucked. And you're hearing this on YouTube, on Spotify, on Twitter, on Facebook.
Yeah.
You know, because these are the tools that we have.
Yeah. 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 I guess it's one of those things. And I remember way back in the day, religious groups and stuff talking about the Sky Tower's evil, the Sky Tower's evil, because it had a casino inside it. And it's like, technology is always amoral. Like, technology is neither, heavenly or hellworthy, good or bad, what we do with it. And so I guess what you're saying, Chewy, is hopefully we're using these platforms, the cesspits that some of them are, and we're using it for good, for want of a better word. But there are many, 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 many more people than us who are using them for revolting badness. So yeah, that's sort of where we're at. All right. Does the dog want to say goodnight to us, or is that what's happening now?
Puppy wants cuddles.
Yeah.
Puppy
Hey,
wants
something else, Whānau. You guys know a little bit about our Christmas weekend coming up for BHNers in Dunedin, the 5th and 6th. I think tomorrow night I'll have an announcement for you about what's going on and what's happening that weekend, and especially if you're in and around the Dunedin area. And other than that, as I said, possibly tomorrow night as well, you might get to hear a little bit about a restarting of a podcast that probably more people than you'd be aware of has asked me, when is this coming back? So yeah, make sure you're with us tomorrow night for a bit more of that. Anything else to wrap up with, Chewy? Oh my gosh, dog.
You just got sniffed. Ha ha! Sniffies.
Mine's upstairs.
Yeah. You don't have a dog. I have a dog.
You have a dog. You win tonight. Chewy wins. Chewy wins tonight. All right, team. Thank you for being with us tonight. We appreciate you spending the evening with us. Remember, all of those enamels are now up and available. And if you want to buy the full house, all 6 of them, there's a 20% discount. Other than that, I guess we'll be back tomorrow night, Chewy, with another amazing show. Well, that's what we'll try and do. We'll try and be back tomorrow night with another amazing show. Worst case scenario is we'll be back tomorrow night with a barely average show. One of those two things. We'll see how it pans out. Or potentially even a bad show. I mean, that could be... that's not possible. That's not possible. But an average show, maybe. We'll see. We'll see tomorrow night.
Settle a debate, whether it be thoughtful or funny, even if we're all creatures of hate. It's a fine line that we're walking together. For better, push aside the temptation to berate. Let's take a note of the corners we stand in. As many points as the hairs on my chinny chin chin. When the news that we're watching is hairy, knowing all the things that we need to be wary of. Like the rich have their hand out for rewards, while the many have to work out what they can afford. And the rest of us ain't paying attention, or maybe have questions we're too worried to mention. Other media is still dwelling on trivial facts, vetting peas from the rice and the mice from the rats, and picking and choosing a war path to run, and linking ourselves with the hill to die on. It's gotta come down to a welcoming vibe, with an A and a self and a higher in mind. All heavily neither this way or that, and will be analyzed by both Chewy and Pat. With the evil in the world trying to mess with your head, and you're sitting on the couch, you're thinking chivalry's dead. Each night, 2 nights, they're gonna sing you to bed. It's big hairy news.
Chewy, someone just put something in the chat which reminded me. I dropped in on the Friday Night Kids to say hello.
Did you now?
I did, and then as I was going and trying to exit the stream, apparently I turned the whole stream off and finished the show for them. So apologise to people viewing, and apologise to Emily and Magenta for my terrible, terrible attempt. We've just missed a couple of these. We are here for the sanity check. Namahi says Speedlock. And Arvid says, buy Ilva a treat for comfort.
She's had too many treats.
All right, team.
Fat loaf.
Catch you tomorrow night from 9 for our next edition of Big Hairy News. Hooroo, team.
Cheers, fam.